A very good evening to all of you. I hope I'm audible. Kindly give me a confirmation. Good evening. Lots of people joining. Okay, so we have the thumbs up. Good evening, Akanksha, Akash, Anish, Sumaya, Purva, Prashant, Dikshit, Abhinav, Fatima, Kavya. Very good evening to all of you. Good evening, good evening. Hello, Shivam. I'm doing good. Hemlata, good evening. Akshara, good evening. Vivek, good evening. Great. Lots of energy, lots of you coming up, and we are getting ready for our session. International Relations. International Relations, 14 March. Let's get to it. New developments, new time, same politics, but new energies, new motivation, and as always, we'll do things with our full hard work, commitment, and we shall ace 2024 or 2025, whatever your goal is. So every month we are meeting, and our interactions are relatively new. I hope the last interaction was fruitful for you, and today's session also has been devised in a manner whereby we have 8 topics, out of which some are more important from the PT perspective, preliminary examination perspective. Some are more important from the mains examination perspective. We'll see what those topics are and how we have to deal with those topics. And now, without any delay, let's get to the questions. Okay, now stay with me because I am relatively new, so I don't know the technical aspects. But trust me, I know the content. So we have 8 topics today. First is the European Free Trade Agreement (EFTA) as it goes. Then you have the Philippines and the China dispute in the South China Sea. Then we have Sweden joining NATO. Last time also we discussed a little bit on NATO. Today we'll continue that discussion. Then we have a very important topic which is Raisina dialogue. We'll see where this goes. Then we have elections in Pakistan, India-Greece relations, Sela Tunnel, and certain military exercises which we see almost every month, so as to revise, okay, what are the military exercises which are ongoing. An important topic, I would say, from the PT perspective, right? Okay, let's get into it. First, we have the European Free Trade Agreement. It says EFTA, European Free Trade Agreement. Now, at the outset, the name suggests that it's probably a FTA with Europe. We don't have to make that mistake. It's not a FTA with Europe, but it's a FTA with certain countries of Europe. Okay, it's at the end of the day a FTA. India, we need to understand, has been moving in a direction whereby we are very conscious as to how we need to move forward with respect to our trade aspects in the international relations. If you see, we have been putting in a lot of efforts to sign FTAs. Now, you need to understand why India is doing this and why this particular FTA, which we have signed with the certain European countries, why this is important. Then we'll get to the specifics of the FTA also. But first, why the steps by India? Now, we have been signing FTAs with many countries. Recently, we have signed FTA with UAE, and recently we have also signed not a comprehensive FTA but a preliminary step to a FTA with Australia also. And we are already negotiating with European Union. We are negotiating with UK also. We are trying to have more markets. We are trying to have more trade relations. You need new markets because we are focusing a lot on the manufacturing capability of India. You all are aware about the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign and the Make in India campaign. Make in India campaign goes hand in hand with Make in India, Make for the World. If we are making a lot of things for the world, we need new markets. We need new market access. And for that, we are rigorously working so as to have more and more free trade agreements in which we get new market access. Obviously, the other entities with whom we are signing these agreements, they are also getting market access to India. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to have a win-win situation. That is what we are trying to have. It works for you, it works for me, and then let's go forward. This is the broad idea with respect to signing multiple FTAs. Okay, now let's get to this, whereby we see what exactly is happening here. Before we move forward, let's try to understand which four countries are a part of this free trade agreement. We have a very important player, which is Switzerland in Europe. It is India's important trade partner. Unfortunately, we have a lot of trade deficit with Switzerland. That means we are importing a lot from Switzerland. But despite that, Switzerland is an important partner. Switzerland, Norway, Norway again, an important country. Recently, these countries like Norway, Sweden, Finland, they have been in news primarily for the purpose that a lot of things are happening in Europe because of the Ukraine-Russia crisis. So Norway is also another country, very important country. Then we have Iceland, and finally we have an important country which is called as Liechtenstein. Sorry, Liechtenstein. Now, this is a country which generally you might not be aware about, but these four countries are a part of the European Free Trade Association. These four countries we have had an agreement with recently, and the most important aspect of the agreement which we have done with them is that in this agreement we are looking for a goal like this. We are wanting $100 billion of FDI in the next 15 years so as to boost the Make in India campaign. Now, you all must be aware that we already have been asking for a lot of foreign investments. And in generally, whenever a country's capex cycle picks up, whenever the economy in a country picks up, it looks for more and more funds. So we have our internal funds also, but we are wanting more funds to come to India. The good part is when these funds will come, they might come in the form of FDI. And when it comes in the form of FDI, it enhances the capabilities of the host country. In case of us, India's capability will be increased by all the funds which will come. We are expecting $100 billion of FDI over the next 15 years. And this is a very, very important development. If you will see, what we have is that we have been asking for money from a lot of countries, and generally, if you are aware that these kinds of countries, they have a lot of funds, and we have already been in talks with these countries for asking for funds. Now Europe, they also have their own funds, and these also are substantial in amount. Rather, Norway as a country has a sovereign fund. Sovereign fund. This word sovereign fund, usually sometimes called as sovereign wealth fund also, this is generally a fund which the countries keep aside when they have to, let's say, invest in other countries. So countries like UAE, Norway, even Saudi, they have these sovereign funds. India wants a piece of these sovereign funds. Okay. Now, it's a very, very important fund from Norway. And because Norway has this huge amount of money in this fund, we want Norway to give us this money also. So we are targeting them in that sense. $100 billion FDI. Now, those of you who have been following current affairs might have come across the fact that there are commitments of $100 billion. That means these four countries, they are committing that they'll invest $100 billion in India no matter what. These are misleading statements. The fine text of the agreement says these are not binding commitments, but these are goals. Goals which the four countries and India, they will collectively try to realize. Okay. Now, some of you might think that, okay, a lot of money we are taking, is this the right thing to do? Not a problem. If economy is working well, debt is not a problem. Always remember, in economics, debt is not a problem till the time economy's robustness exists. Which means till the time the macro indicators in the economy are doing good, debt is something which can be managed. So debt is per se not a problem, and the good part is India's Parliament has already enacted a law, Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Act. The FRBM Act will automatically take care of this, although we have sometimes not been, let's say, very sincere with respect to accepting the limits which we have placed under FRBM, but because of the problems in the world, let's say COVID was there, or let's say inflation was there, or let's say demand was less, so we allow ourselves to deviate sometimes, but that does not mean that there is a problem. On the contrary, India's economy is as of now robust, and rather India is one of those sweet spots in the global economy, and most of the players are wanting to come to India. So that is not per se a problem with us. Okay, and in that case, don't think that if you take money, then it is going to be a big problem. No, it is not a big problem. However, very important thing, let's come back to these are goals. Goal is to have $100 billion of investments. Many newspaper articles are saying binding commitments or commitments. So obviously it's a commitment, but it's not a legally binding commitment. Any country can't force its private sector to go and invest in India, but they'll make things easier. So that's the intent when we say that there is a goal of $100 billion of investment in India over the next 15 years. Okay. Then an important aspect is that it is going to create employment in India. These are significances. Okay. And jobs is something which we require, and we are wanting that, okay, come with more jobs. More and more countries, if they are generating jobs in India, we are happy with that. Better facilities for vocational and technical training. When countries come, I told you, with FDI, they come with expertise. So that is something which we really want. Technology collaboration across different sectors. Now, this is very important, technology collaboration. But this technology collaboration will happen across which sectors, that is also equally important for us to know. If you see, these are the areas whereby we will have some kind of a cooperation. For example, infrastructure, manufacturing, machinery, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, transport and logistics, banking and financial, insurance, food processing, R&D. Now see, from the perspective of these European countries, these four European countries, what we have is these are countries which are investing a lot of their money in R&D, and these are countries which produce high value goods. So some of you might be aware about luxury watches which are made in Switzerland, or those luxurious chocolates which are made in Switzerland. The entire world knows about them. These countries, they produce high value goods by investing a lot in R&D. And on top of that, these countries are very good when it comes to banking, insurance, and to a certain extent, even logistics sector. Okay. So when we talk about this, then these are few things which we say are going to come to India. Not these things per se, but the tech associated with them, the expertise associated with them. And that is something which we would want. Banking sector, already, if you are aware, there is a bank called UBS. It works out of Switzerland. It is already present in India. High value goods like Swiss watches, they are already in India. The good part will be that now when we sign a FTA, last time also we discussed, in FTA, what we have is reduction of tariffs. Reduction of tariffs and opening of markets. So while we have reduced tariffs and we have opened markets, this means reduction of tariffs will mean cheaper Swiss chocolates, cheaper Swiss watches. So that's good for Indian consumer also, and obviously good for those companies also who are trying to sell these products. So all these things are going to happen. Another important aspect is with respect to pharmaceuticals. Now, when it comes to pharma sector, a very important company by the name of Novartis works out of these countries. And again, pharmaceutical sector is heavily R&D driven. So research and development in the pharma sector is something which is extreme importance to these countries, and that is why you will always see the Western world in general, whether it is Europe, whether it is America, they are very, very particular about IPR. IPR, intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights are very, very important for any of the country, and they are concerned about IPR in India. Okay, hold this point. I will refer to this point again when we discuss the concerns. Fine, hold this point. I'll be coming back to this. But it's a very important consideration. See, any country which is going to invest heavily in R&D, they will be particular about IPR. They have to protect their intellectual property at no matter whatever cost. So they would want countries with whom they are having trade relations to incorporate these kinds of provisions in the agreements which they are signing. The agreement which we have signed with them, does that agreement include such a thing, is a question. I'll answer this question. Stay with me. Now let's move forward. So what have we done till now? That we have 4 countries. We are expecting money from them and we have signed a FTA with them. FTA basically is reduction of tariffs, opening of markets, along with other aspects related to exchange of goods and services. And these kinds of sectors which are displayed on your screens, they will benefit from this FTA which we have signed. An important fact for PT which you have to keep in mind is Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, TIPA. This is the official name of the agreement. Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. Okay. Please keep in mind while you are making notes. Okay. Now, let's move forward. Now, let me discuss briefly about few things. Whenever FTA is signed, generally you will see an FTA is about trade in goods and services. An FTA may have investment aspects associated. An FTA may have IPR issues discussed. A FTA may have provisions like rules of origin. These are the general points which are there in any FTA. They are there in this FTA also. Trade in goods and services talks about basically tariff concessions. Now, tariffs, if you see, are of what are tariffs? Tariffs are a part of trade barriers. Let me talk about this also. Stay with me. When we talk about trade barriers, let me add a new slide. Okay. There are trade barriers between countries. These trade barriers are primarily of 2 types. One is tariff barriers, the other is non-tariff barriers. Okay, tariff barrier simply means taxes or different duties which are imposed by the government. They are part of tariff barriers. And non-tariff barriers, what are non-tariff barriers? Non-tariff barriers are barriers like sanitary and phytosanitary conditions. What is the meaning of this? I'll explain. Stay with me. Or let's say technical requirements with respect to labeling. This was a very important consideration with UAE, the labeling part, not per se important when it comes to European countries. Okay, and then we have something like quota requirements also. These kinds of requirements are called as non-tariff barriers. What are we saying? These all are trade barriers. Trade barriers exist between countries. When countries sign FTA, that means trade barriers are reduced. Trade barriers are reduced. That simply means now you can trade better. Now you can trade more. It may benefit, may not benefit. We are not saying it will benefit both the countries. But through this, what we are trying to do is we are trying to promote free trade. Okay. Now, this is something which the government applies. Dumping duty, anti-dumping duty, countervailing duty, these kinds of duties. You will read about all these duties in your economics classes. So these kinds of things, they are imposed by states on goods coming from other countries. So as of now, if you see, one of the problems with India is that India imposes high taxes on luxury goods. For example, if from Europe, what kind of things come from Europe to India? For example, luxury cars. For example, wines. Europe says India imposes a lot of taxes on these goods, making these goods even more costlier in the Indian markets. So their sales reduce because they are of exorbitant prices in Indian markets. Through FTA, you may reduce the tariffs. This was also one of the criticism which Trump used to do in his time for India, for saying that India is imposing very high taxes. Nevertheless, different countries impose different kinds of barriers. Tariff are the taxes ones. We also impose depending on our requirements. Non-tariff are the ones whereby there is per se a kind of a problem. See, these kinds of things are directly imposed. For example, I'll impose a tariff of, let's say, 5%, 10%, 15%, and I'll also give some reason, which is generally protection of the indigenous industry. But when it comes to non-tariff barriers, there comes a lot of problem, and these are especially relevant for products which leave India. Why? We'll do it with the help of an example. One of the concerns of Europe One of the concerns of Europe is we will not allow your Alfonso mango to enter India, to enter into Europe. Europe is saying this. We are saying we are having this amazing mangoes, Alfonso mangoes. We are having, you also have, and you realize how good they are. Europe is saying, sorry, we can't allow the mangoes to enter Europe because we have sanitary and phytosanitary concerns associated with it. On that basis, they restrict the entry of, let's say, Indian mangoes into European markets. Concern, we are not sure about the sanitary conditions associated with these kinds of products. These kinds of products are perishable goods or maybe farm products which are non-processed. We are saying there is a sanitary and phytosanitary aspect associated with these kinds of goods. What are the goods in our case? Mangoes are the goods. They are perishable products. They are products which are needed for, let's say, which are directly consumed by the, let's say, citizen of the Europe. Europe is saying the manner in which you are producing mangoes, the requirements which are needed, let's say, in case of India, we have a body called FSSAI. They are regulatory body with respect to all the hygiene conditions. They are regulatory body with respect to all the aspects which are needed in case of, let's say, India's consumption goods. The requirements which are there and the fact that requirements are generally flouted, this makes us concerned about the product which you are selling. Is the product of good quality? Is it organic? If it is organic, are you sure that the nearby farms from where you are procuring this, they are not using pesticides? In case of India, regulatory standards, although they exist, but sometimes they are not adhered to, and because of this they are concerned. So they, when on this basis Europe says that we are not sure about your mango coming to Europe because we are not concerned, we are concerned with the quality and we are not sure with respect to quality, that is when we use the word that Europe has imposed restrictions on Indian goods on the basis of sanitary and phytosanitary conditions. Now, it is not a tax, but it is also a barrier. It is a barrier to trade. FTAs restrict these barriers. We are going to reduce such kind of barriers. We are expecting European countries to reduce barriers like this also for Indian products. But will they reduce the sanitary and phytosanitary measures? That's a big question mark. We are not concerned about their products because we know their products are of the best quality. So Swiss chocolates coming to India is not a problem. But Indian mangoes going to Europe can be a problem, has been a problem in the past. Now we have to see whether they'll allow or not. Okay. Now, technical requirements are like labeling requirements. If you go and eat sneakers, chocolate, some of you might be eating sneakers chocolate. On the top of it, it is written how many calories are there. And on the top, it is written that it contains peanuts. Peanuts. We Indians love peanuts. Grown extensively. Where? Which areas peanuts is grown? Geography question, homework for you. I will not tell. I don't know much also. It is grown in Gujarat although. Now, many people are allergic to peanuts. If you don't write on the top that it contains peanuts and after consuming that product, that person faces any health situation, you will be sued. This is a law in Western countries. As a result, labeling is very, very important. Indian exporters have to ensure proper labeling. This is a very important consideration. If because the products are not properly labeled, your products may not be allowed to enter, and then also it will come under non-tariff barrier. I hope this makes it clear. Okay. Now let's continue. Come back to this. So few things which we have discussed till now, and let's try to summarize things first, and then we'll only move forward. So first thing which we need to summarize is what is the significance of this EFTA, and whenever a significance is asked to you, okay, in IR, what you should do is you should approach in this manner, make it or note it down as a part of the things which you will take care while writing a mains answer. See, I'll give it you an example. When we study geography, there's a topic called corals. If I ask you a question, what are the reasons for the destruction of corals? You will tell me 5 reasons. Okay. In mains, you're not expected to tell 5 reasons because the examiner will not be able to make sense of all the 5 reasons, and more importantly, you may not even remember 5 reasons. So what is the best thing to do is divide this into 2 parts. One is the natural reasons for the destruction of coral. The second is the anthropogenic reasons. Anthropogenic reasons means the ones which are man-made or human-induced. These reasons. And then you write 2-3 points, then you write 2-3 points. This is a good way of writing a mains answer. Similarly, when we talk about significance of EFTA, what we can do is the significance from the perspective of European countries, significance from the perspective of India. That's a good way through which we can frame our content. Okay, so keep this in mind while writing your mains answer. Now let's continue. Significance of EFTA. What is going to happen? These 4 European countries, we always remember it is not entire Europe, rather only 4 countries. And let me tell you an interesting thing. India has been trying to have a FTA with EU. This FTA is called as Bilateral Trade and Investment Agreement. India has been trying to have a FTA with EU, and we have been trying to have this investment or this trade agreement since 2006. We have not been able to sign it because there are concerns. What kinds of concerns? These kinds of concerns are there. They have these concerns. We have some other concerns which I'll tell you. Okay. We have not been able to sign this with entire European Union. But what we have done now is, that is why we are studying this topic, is a very important development, because if entire Europe is not ready, at least these 4 countries are ready. And these 4 countries, they are substantial players in Europe. And if you see, and we'll be relating this in the other topics which we cover, we are actually doing a lot of things to reach out to Europe. One of the important things, stay with me, one of the important things which we are doing, and you all must be knowing this, but I'm just telling you, I'm just coming back to this. Okay, I'll explain the quota requirements also. Some of you are asking quota requirements. Give me 2 minutes, I'll explain that also. This is the India Middle East Europe corridor, which was basically announced during the G20 summit. And if you see, we are trying to reach to Europe. This corridor is just one way to reach Europe. Why? We want access of Europe. Why do you want access of Europe? 2 things. Europe, big market. Second, better relations with Europe, geopolitically important. Why? Europe is a strong player in the world. Better relations with Europe will bring more money, and trust me, Europe has a lot of money. That money has not come to India. That money has gone to China. We are wanting to have a piece of pie. That is why we are reaching out to Europe, and we are doing everything possible so as to improve our connectivity to Europe. This EFTA which we are doing, this is a part of that only. It's everything is related. You have to make these connections, because while you are writing a mains answer, you have to include all of these things. Okay. Now, we have not been able to sign a FTA with EU, but we have been able to sign a FTA with European, these 4 countries, which collectively sometimes called as the European Free Trade Association. European Free Trade Association is the name given to these four countries. Okay, so we have done only with that one important thing which you cannot forget. So coming to the significance for them, they will get access to Indian markets. Okay, then for India, we can write India will get investments. For India, we can write India will get expertise, especially in which sectors? Banking. To a certain extent, R&D collaboration. Then, what is the benefit for these European countries? They will get, once they get access to Indian markets, does India have something to offer? More exposure to Indian IT products. Indian IT products are relatively cheap. Good part, win-win situation for them. They can buy more IT products. For us, better, we can sell more to them. What? IT products. As of now, this is the main aspect. More things will get further added, but there are some concerns also which we'll talk about. And uh, when we talk about this kind of a interaction which is taking place, we are seeing, okay, it's a win-win situation. Good, you are getting benefited, we are getting benefited. Very nice. If we see here, we are going to get this better access to independent professionals and service providers. Here, I can include this into expertise. We'll get their expertise. And needed for us, we need all these requirements. We need all these things because we need expertise in things we don't have. Our companies cannot match the global standards, so we need their help. The good part for us, we are getting expertise. The good part for them is they will get access to Indian professionals. And here I will introduce the next dimension, Indian professionals. This is associated with movement of labor under WTO. Movement of labor. It is a very important concern of India. India wants better access for their professionals. We want to send people, they don't want to send people. They simply want access to Indian markets. So they'll have a commercial presence. We are saying we want to send our people there because that is when we'll be able to sell our IT products. So whether it is with UAE or Australia, which we have already signed, you might have come across the fact that now many immigration agents, they are not saying go to Canada, they're saying go to Australia. Why? A pact is signed where Australia is allowing a lot of people from India. Same is the case with France. France is saying now please come to France. We'll allow you access to France market, and in generally Indian students can go and study in French universities. This is movement of people. Movement of people is something which India always wants. And this FTA, which we are not able to sign with EU, one of the India's concern is EU does not allow us more access when it comes to movement of labor. So we want that. They are not allowing. Okay. My concern is you are not allowing my people. Sorry, kindly bear with me. I have a sore throat. See, non-tariff barriers will also include restrictions on professionals. This is something which they have done for us. Okay, problem for us. They are not able to let it go. So we are saying we'll also not give you market access. And this is the prime reason why we are not able to have this. But these four countries, we have some understanding. Okay. Next, before we move forward, very quickly, quota requirements. Quota requirements are nothing but requirements like you have to fulfill a certain kind of a, uh, let's say, uh, let me give you an example. For example, if you are trying to sell some product to these countries, they will set a upper limit. For example, if you are selling some, let's say, textiles, then you can't sell more than $2 billion of textiles. When these kinds of restrictions are placed, they are called as quota requirements. You can't export more than a certain quota. Or they can say that Indian textiles can at max have 3%, oh sorry, 0.3% of the market. The moment Indian exports increase 0.3% of their market, they'll stop the exports. Why? They'll say there's a quota for you. India, we can give you only this much. From this much market, we can give you this much market only. So that is the understanding. After that, we can't. So that is where we call it quota restriction or quota requirement. Different countries impose it on different products depending on their own economy. Okay, that is quota requirement. Now, let's continue. So, what we have seen that there is this agreement, FTA. We have seen that there is certain significance of this EFTA for both the players. That's a good thing. With respect to India, I have not included those significances. You can include by yourself that we'll get $100 billion of investments and approximately 10 lakh jobs will be created because of this. Fine. Now let's continue. This is an important aspect. Everything seems fine. There are some concerns. Everything is not fine. All is not well. We are trying to have a condition where all is well, but all is not well. Concerns. What are the concerns? Now, Switzerland, which is the most important country in this EFTA. What is EFTA? European Free Trade Association consists of 4 countries. Switzerland is the largest trading partner of India in this entire group. The point is, the problem is, we import much more than we export. That means, through this market, through this FTA, which we have signed with them, the FTA is called as EFTA or TEFA is the official name. This agreement which we have signed with them, this is going to give them market access to India, which means the imports may increase, which means the trade deficit may also increase. That is the big concern. Switzerland is selling us gold. We are importing a lot of gold from there. Better market access, problems. Okay, for India, more exports from India. First concern. Second concern, which is a concern from the European side, is the concern with respect to IPR. Okay, stay with me. Very, very important. Now, IPR, intellectual property rights. In pharma sector, we have a particular clause associated with data exclusivity. Data exclusivity. What is the meaning of this? Data exclusivity. Data exclusivity says that the pharma giants which are making branded drugs, they are making it after a lot of R&D. This R&D which they are doing, this R&D includes clinical trials also, the trials which they do of the drugs on different people. This R&D which they are doing, this is their intellectual property right. That means the data which they have collected by testing their drug. First of all, they make the drug, then they test their drug. Both these datas, they say, are their intellectual property and it needs protection. This is called as data exclusivity. That means when the Swiss company, or let's say in case of Novartis, when it sells drugs in India, it asks the Indian government that Indian government ensure data exclusivity remains. Meaning, whatever data I have collected and whatever data is there with respect to the formulation of the drug, that data you have to protect. It should not be available in public domain till the time you are giving me a right to sell the drug. India does not provide for something like data exclusivity. Data exclusivity at the end of the day is protection of that data, which is a data from where they are doing their business. So the entire thing in a, let's say, drug is what is the formulation? The formulation is a very important aspect of the drug. How much salt in what quantity is present in the drug. Plus, when you tested it on the patients, all these things are very important data, and we call it the IPR. And the protection of this is called as data exclusivity. It should not be given, this data should not be given to others, but what the Indian government does is, Indian government gives the data to the producers of generic drugs because we require cheap drugs. So we are not providing for something like this, which is a concern for these countries. Despite that, they have said that we'll go ahead with the FTA, but they have said that we'll review this after some time. Indian government has said we'll review this, but has not provided yet. Okay, that's a big concern. Now, one important thing which I am discussing with you is Switzerland. We have said that imports are more, in which gold is a very important component. Good part is, as of now, remember this for PT, as of now, that means 14th March 2024, gold is not kept within the goods on which the barriers will be reduced. So on gold, the barriers will continue. That means whatever deficit we have with them with respect to because of the gold, that we don't have to worry. But the concern is new products will get added, and they have gotten added. So now Swiss, Norway, these are the main countries, and even Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein is primarily selling services, banking, insurance. Okay, that is the sector where Liechtenstein has a expertise. So they'll also be involved, and these services will reach India. That is going to impact us. Don't worry, gold is not going to come from there. Okay, so these are some things which you have to keep in mind for this newly signed agreement. And okay, I have a question for all of you. Okay. Fine. I've given you 30 seconds. I've given you 30 seconds to reply. So there's a question. Okay. So tough question. Tough question. I tweaked the options. Okay. So let me discuss the answer with you. With reference to the European Free Trade Association, consider the following statements. India's top export destination is Iceland. This is an incorrect option. Why? The topmost place is with Switzerland. EFTA countries are a part of European Union. Now, this is as such a wrong statement in the sense that they are not a part of European Union. European Union is a separate body. We are saying EFTA is a part of European Union. This is a separate body. EFTA is a separate body. We don't have FTA with them. We have FTA with them. Remember this. Okay. And last is EFTA consists of 4 countries, including Norway, yes, Iceland, yes, Liechtenstein, yes. Sweden is not a part. Instead of Sweden, we have Switzerland. I don't know how many of you were correct in your analysis. So the correct answer is D. Okay. EFTA countries are part of European Union. That is incorrect. Please remember why we are saying this is because EFTA is a separate entity and European Union is a separate entity. They are not same entities, or one is not a part of the other. 2 separate entities, European Union, EFTA. Fine? Okay, good. Let's move forward then. Okay, this is a mains question which I would want you to attempt at your end. The question is inspired from the 2022 question, which was on a grouping. And this is also a grouping of 4 countries. So something like this, we are trying to have a same kind of a questionnaire, given the previous year trend so as to predict something for the future. So this is something which I would want you to try to attempt. The significance of the deal which we have discussed. Okay. Mains question homework for you. Let's move forward. Now, second topic for us is Philippines and China dispute in the South China Sea. Very, very important issue going on. Philippines and China. This, the entire 2023 was a time when we have seen a lot of problems in Philippines and China. Entire 2023. Lots of events are happening. And I'll introduce new concepts here for you because they have been in the news and we need to understand this. One thing before we move forward is with respect to PT, whenever we are discussing things, take care of the keywords, take care of the concepts, new things, take care of the facts. And whenever we are talking from the perspective of mains, be more worried about analysis. Just have this broad framework in mind. Okay. So let's see what is important in this particular topic from PT perspective as well as from mains perspective. Let's move forward. First of all, this is the issue at hand. What has happened recently is, if you see on the screens, there is a particular snapshot of an article from 5th of March. It says that there was a kind of a collision between Chinese vessels and the Philippines vessel, as a result of which 4 Filipino crew members were injured. Okay. Now, is this new? No, this is not new. Why this is happening? We need to see that reason. Although most of you are aware about this, that it is because of the China's aggressive way of dealing with things. But what is this aggression which the China is trying to show? Let's talk about this also. Before that, before we get into this part, I would want to take you to South China Sea. It's a place, South China Sea. Those of you who have followed the PYQs, UPSC has a habit of asking questions from areas which are in news. Stay with me. From 2014 to 2018, West Asia was in news. A lot of questions from IR came from this area of West Asia. I'm talking only about prelims here. Okay, I'm not going into mains. I'm talking only about prelims. Why West Asia was in news? Something or the other thing was happening there. So they would take up a place and they would ask question around that, in which we need to do a lot of map work also. Since 2022, what we have seen is that areas around Ukraine, they are in news. So those of you who have been following PYQs would know that questions around Ukraine have been asked. Again, which kind of questions? Map work. Now, the point is, since largely 2018 till I would say today, Indo-Pacific is in news. So whenever something happens in Indo-Pacific, it's of concern to us. This includes South China Sea. This includes the Taiwan crisis. These two things have been in news since a long period of time. So if you're not following the map work with respect to these two areas, I would strongly suggest you to please incorporate this. Okay. Recently, Red Sea is also in the news. So map work with respect to those areas is something which you should do at your end. So whenever such kind of areas are in news, open your map. Have a look at the areas which are around and try to have a picture of this. I'm not saying go to the extreme details, but try to have a broad idea. And that is what is the starting point for us when it comes to this issue. The issue is that China is talking about certain territorial claims in their in the waters. Every country has claims. You might have heard about exclusive economic zones. Exclusive economic zones. Every country has exclusive economic zones up to 200 nautical miles from their coast. Now, the problem is, look at these countries. Look at the screen. This is Vietnam. Vietnam is saying, I have some claims. Similarly, if you see, this is Philippines. Philippines says, I have also claims because this is my territory. This is Malaysia. Malaysia says, my claims are also there. Every country has the claims. This claim is under United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas, UN clause. Where is the problem? The problem is all these countries are fighting for their claims in waters. And now comes the big bully. The big bully comes and big bully says, this is all mine. This is the cause of concern. This is the problem. Conflict between what is mine and what is yours. This is the conflict in South China Sea. Now, let's try to understand more. In this map, if you see, there is something called there is this line, this blue line, if you can see, this particular line. This is a line till which China says, my claims are there on the sea. This line was called as 9-line. Recently, a new dash has been added by China near Taiwan, and now they are calling it the 10-line. The 10-line basically tells area till which China has claims. And the problem, this 10-line is not acceptable to a number of players there. In which 9-line is something which you have heard. A new dash has been added now recently, 2023. And in this area, what we are seeing is a lot of developments. A lot of developments. Stay with me. 2023, what we have seen is something called as gray zone warfare. Stay with me. Very important point. New concept for you. Gray zone warfare. Going on between China and Philippines, and at the same time going on between China and Taiwan. This gray zone warfare was discussed recently in the Raisina dialogue also. What is this gray zone warfare? Gray zone warfare is where countries, they are in confrontation with each other, but the threshold of confrontation, stay with me, I'm saying the countries are in confrontation with each other. Countries, confrontation. But threshold of confrontation is always such that you can't go to war. Direct war is something which will not take place, but constantly both will try to harm each other. Whenever a country declares a war on another country, they will always say that my national interest was threatened, so I'm going to war. Or if we have to tomorrow go to war, there have to be reasons, because we have to tell the entire world why we are going to war. Going to war is a big thing. Assumption is that China wants to go to war with countries like Philippines, or at least with Taiwan, so as to absorb Taiwan. China says Taiwan is mine at the end of the day. So what China is doing is China is indulging into some activities with these countries, and these activities cannot be called as direct confrontation to the extent that it is a war. No, but small skirmishes, small events, they will keep on happening, and then we'll call this thing as a gray zone warfare. It is warfare. It is, both countries are having this adversarial relationship, but they are not indulging into direct war. There may be war of words, diplomatic war can be there, diplomatic exchanges can be there. Small events like collision between ships can be there, or they will rush past. Philippines ship is going, China is coming, China is like, okay, I'll go back, I'll go this way. Or Philippines ship is going, Chinese ship will come ahead. And they will continuously keep on doing all these activities. When you do this, we call it gray zone warfare. Generally, it is done so as to provoke the other party. China is doing it to provoke Philippines, so that tomorrow Philippines takes a step which is aggressive, and now China will retaliate and will tell the entire world that look, what I am doing is only retaliating to Philippines aggressive step, but I am not going to war. I am not the initiator of aggression. Philippines has initiated the aggression. I have to reply because I have to protect my people. But before that, you will do all these small, small things to provoke a player. These activities are called as gray zone warfare, which is on rise. And in 2023, we have seen this happening to a great extent between China and Philippines. And in 2022, we saw this with China and Taiwan. This is a big, big issue. Okay, it is very, very similar to what existed during Cold War. Cold War was cold because there was no direct confrontation between Soviet and US. Had there been direct confrontation, we would have not called it Cold War, we would have called it, okay, it's a war or a hot war. Cold War meant subversive activities, proxy wars, assassinations, undermining the other, doing actions so as to undermine the other's economy. These all activities fall under the category of gray zone warfare, which was a very important feature during Cold War between Soviet and USA. And now these things are associated with Chinese activities primarily in South China Sea. And these are because China wants to control these waters. These waters are very important from trade perspective, from the perspective that it has huge mineral and natural resources, and from strategic perspective that there are sea lines of communication running from these waters which China would want to control. That is at least what is the broader view, that China is doing this so as to have this control. Now, stay with me. So what has happened recently is that in this particular place, if you now see on the board, you will see two lines. One is the line which is claimed by Philippines, this one, and the other is the line which China claims. You can see these all areas are areas of contention. On these areas, both have claims. So there is going to be a conflict. Now, you need to understand one thing, that when we have situations like this, both will claim the area and there is going to be a dispute, which is a very common aspect of Philippines and China relationship. What happened recently is that the crisis has happened in this part, Second Thomas Shoal. Stay with me. Second Thomas Shoal. It's a atoll. Atoll is a geographical feature. It's a atoll, and here nearby in these areas there has been coalitions, and Philippines has retaliated strongly. China has put the blame on Philippines that they are the ones who are indulging into these things. Philippines is saying it is China which is creating problems, and China has even went to the extent of throwing water cannons, so water guns basically. So they are celebrating their own Holi there. So water cannons, water blasts are shared, and Philippines says there was a water blast from the Chinese, and there was collision also deliberate, which has hit the which has hurted the Philippine crew also. That has a problem going on. Now, more things to understand here. Okay, on this map, if you see, there is this part on in red which is called as the Second Thomas Reef. Second Thomas Shoal or Second Thomas Reef, one and the same thing. Okay, now if you see this, it is near to these two islands which you have to remember for prelims: Spratly Islands and Paracel Islands. These two chain of islands is the most disputed chain of islands, with different countries having different claims on these islands. Philippines says some parts are mine, Vietnam says some part are mine, Malaysia says I am also there, and somebody from Taiwan also comes. Taiwan generally has a claim towards Paracel. And China says all of this is mine also. So that's the conflict. But these two names is something which you have to remember: Paracel Islands and Spratly Islands. Near the Spratly Islands is this Second Thomas Reef, which we are discussing. Stay with me. There is this Second Thomas Reef or Second Thomas Shoal, and there is this First Thomas Shoal also in the nearby areas. Just remember this. We'll come to this part. Wait for it. Okay. Now, so this is the broader area. This is called as South China Sea. Within the South China Sea, I have areas like, which areas? Where did they go? Here are the areas: Paracel Islands, Spratly Islands, and near the Spratly Islands is the conflict going on as of now. Last 2022, we had conflicts near this area, which is the Taiwan. Or let me show you in some other map, the Taiwan Strait. If you see this area, 2022-2023, we saw a lot of conflict here. Conflict in the sense, a lot of naval buildup, a lot of patrolling is done, but while patrolling, you go into the waters of other country. And that is the confrontation. That is the part of gray zone warfare, which continuously keeps on happening so as to send a signal to the other, or so as to check the capabilities of the other, or to see the response of the other. Why? You want to make your own strategy. So you're doing all these things. These activities keep on happening. Now, what has changed recently is that Philippines has gone through a change of government. And the new government that is more closer to US. And this is one of the immediate causes of why this confrontation, which I was talking to you, in 2023, this confrontation increased to such an extent that Philippines is outrightly coming and blaming China. And China is saying that things are going out of hand. We don't want that. China is a very strong country. We don't want that. Now, stay with me. This is an area called, now I'll introduce a new area called Palawan Island, which we remember also. This Palawan Island is a place where the US has a presence, and recently the US has increased its presence in this Palawan Island. Stay with me. Now I would want you to read few things with me. Okay, if you see here on the board, we have EDCA, which we'll remember. EDCA stands for the 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. This agreement is between Philippines and US. Signed in 2014, but not a lot happened under this agreement. What is the basic aspect of the agreement? That under this agreement, US will have more presence on the Philippines soil. Which brings us to the next line. EDCA gave US forces access to 5 Philippine bases. In 2023, 4 more bases were given access. So 5 plus 4, 9 places where now US has access. Why is US wanting to have more and more access? US fears that China is going to take Taiwan, and China is going to have more control in this area, so they are coming to restrict their control. And that is why they are increasing their presence near those areas. And that has happened in 2023, whereby this aspect has improved, or the US presence has improved. And why this has improved, which brings us to the second point. Which pact? EDCA, which was stalled under the former president Rodrigo Duterte. Now, he is a person who has been associated with drug abuse. Kids are difficult. Kids create noise. We do kids, but then that is how life is. Extremely thankful to all of you for understanding. We do our best. Sometimes things work with us, sometimes they don't. But I'm not taking the class from studio, unfortunately. Rather, I'm not even taking the class from my home. I'm taking class from someplace else because of some connection issues. Online is a great domain, but generally I have been teaching in offline domain primarily because I always want to have a one-to-one connection and I want to see people. It tells me, okay, what is the expression so that I can explain again, or if everybody knows, I can move forward quickly. But online is also fine because you guys are quite interactive, and I like the fact that okay, 2 hours pass by and we don't even know. We'll be doing more of this. I really enjoy reading IR on a daily basis, and fortunately, things worked in a favor that the IR part I'm taking in the online domain also, and but this is new 8:30 p.m. class. I've never taken a class at 8:30 p.m. I take it in the morning. I already have a morning class scheduled tomorrow. Kids are generally sleeping in the morning. Never mind. Let's continue. The former president of Philippines, Roberto Duterte, he was a person who has been alleged that he has taken a lot of steps against people who were indulging in drug abuse. But whatever steps he has taken, there has been gross violation of human rights and people have been killed. So there is a lot of issues around this president in Philippines, although the good part was that this president was pro China. And this president was removed because of this issues in Philippines last year. And he has been succeeded by another person called as Ferdinand Marcos in 2023. Ferdinand Marcos, he has been pro-US. And since he has assumed office, not only the relationship between Philippines and China has gone down a hill, but at the same time, Philippines and US relationship has improved substantially, as a result of which four more places were given access to of the Philippines soil. This creates a problem between US and China also, but obviously a struggle is going on between them. So this is moving forward in this manner. If you see here, who succeeded him in June 2023, he has adopted a more US friendly foreign policy and has sought to accelerate the implementation of EDCA. This is the problem. Okay, this is the problem. Now, going to the back to the map, this island is where US has been given more access, and this Palawan island is very near to the second Thomas Reef or Second Thomas Shoal on which the crisis is taking place. And even more important is the fact that this Mischief Reef, which is near to this. So, what have we done? Second Thomas Shoal is near to Palawan Islands, on which US presence is there. Second Thomas Shoal, this is under the control of Philippines, where the crises are taking place. And very near to this is the Mischief Reef, which is under the control of China. So now what is happening is China is moving towards this direction. China is moving towards this direction. And this increases the possibility of conflict also. So these are very destabilizing events which are taking place in that area. Fine. So in this context, you have to know the event. It was just an event. If I talk about the event is nothing but the Chinese Coast Guard ships and the accompanying vessels, they blocked the Philippines vessels of the disputed Second Thomas Shoal. Second Thomas Shoal is disputed why Philippines has the control. China says it belongs to me. China's claims are that at one point of time they had certain trade ties in that area, so they are saying these areas belong to me. How is Philippines saying this area belongs to me? Philippines has a certain, you can say, vessel or a ship which is there. A certain vessel or a ship which is in Second Thomas Shoal, which Philippines say is mine, and this presence of this vessel is since 1990s, and they continue to say that presence of this vessel shows that this area belongs to me. See, these are all areas are uninhabited. These are uninhabited areas. Why they have become suddenly important is because this entire area is important from the perspective of trade and resources. And China's rise is and for China's rise, it is important that they control these areas. So that is why the conflicts are going on. So this disputed Second Thomas Shoal and executed dangerous maneuvers that caused two minor collisions between Chinese ships and two of the Philippines vessels. This is the exact event that took place. For us, the event is not important. For us, what is more important, that what is the broader context in which things are happening. Okay, I hope you are able to understand this. Let's move forward then. Okay, so we have done all these things. These are again maps to help you. Okay, this particular slide talks about the competing claims in South China Sea. Just read it once, and you will see that China claims sovereignty over most of the South China Sea. Philippines has a control over Second Thomas Shoal, and there are certain other areas in the Spratly Island where Philippines says, "I have a let's say a claim." Taiwan also has some claims on Spratly Islands, but most of the Taiwan's claims are on Paracel Islands. Sorry, Paracel. And Vietnam has also built certain facilities near the Spratly Islands. Two set of chains. One important fact which you have to remember is China is building artificial islands also. Where China is building artificial islands? Again, the same place. Paracel and Spratly Islands. So this is a chain of small islands. On this, China is trying to make artificial islands also, and China is trying to have military presence on those islands. Remember this. Okay. So what we have done is that there is Paracel, there is Spratly, then we have done that there is this particular area, Second Thomas Shoal, where the incident took place. The Second Thomas Shoal is near to Palawan Island, where the US presence is there, and near the Second Thomas Shoal is also Mischief Reef, which already is under the occupation of China. So a lot of new names for you. We have also done another dash is also added, 10 dash line near Taiwan, and that also is creating problems now. Okay, so these pointers, please remember and just go through this entire map work also at your end once things will be more clear. Now, okay, this is a question which has already come in UPSC. I have included this question to tell you that questions are framed whenever such issues are going on these lines. I'll give you 30 seconds. You can go ahead and mark the correct answer. It's a very easy question. Okay, I've given you 30 seconds. It's PYQ. Oh, very good. Uh, but some confusion also. Most of you have got it correct. Answer is B, but a lot of you have answered A also. Don't get confused. Please don't get confused. See, this also tells us, let's try to understand the psyche of UPSC also. UPSC has given the four statements which are simultaneous, all are true, all are happening actually in the world, but only one is correct, obviously. The issue is with respect to Senkaku Island. Senkaku Island is basically a chain of islands which are disputed between China and Japan. But look at the statements created by UPSC. It is generally believed that they are artificial islands made by a country around South China Sea. If this is the statement, what should be the answer for this? Paracel and Spratly Islands. And who is making artificial islands? China. So this is happening, but obviously this is not with respect to Senkaku. But UPSC made a statement to confuse you. Okay, this is incorrect. Second is correct. Third, a permanent American military base has been set up there to help Taiwan to increase its defense capabilities. This is not on Senkaku. This is on Palawan. We discussed. Then, though the International Court of Justice declared them as no man's land, some Southeast Asian countries claim them. This is with respect to certain islands in the Spratly. This is also true, has happened, but not with respect to Senkaku. All four are happening, and all four are happening in the same area also. So, UPSC framed a question out of this. Be ready for such kind of questions. Okay, very easy question. I'll give you 10 seconds for this. 15 seconds, okay, because it is very easy. Everybody knows. Okay, poll time. I'll increase the poll time, but these are relatively easy questions. Don't worry, those of you who are just starting the preparation, those of you who may be at a relatively, they are doing it at a pace whereby they are behind others. So don't worry, you will catch. But I would want to maintain a certain speed. Okay. Obviously, the answer is South China Sea. These are also important shoals. Just remember the names, please. Okay. Out of which this is more important, has been in news because there are some events which have happened near Scarborough Shoal also. Although Ayungin Shoal, there have been no incidents here, but just remember the name. Okay. Let's continue. Now the next topic, Sweden joins NATO. NATO, last time we covered, we were talking about NATO, how NATO's expansion is happening and it is creating instability. Today's topic is relatively on the easier side because it is simply about Sweden joining NATO. So, what can you expect from the prelims perspective is that what is the procedure when a country joins NATO? Can any country join NATO, or only certain set of countries can join NATO? Now, NATO, which is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, consists of countries from North America, two countries from North America, US and Canada, and rest of the countries are from Europe. Okay. At present, NATO has 32 members, including Sweden. Now, NATO was created on the leadership of US for the area of Europe. So first thing is, it is for European countries, it is not for any other country. Tomorrow, if there is a statement says India should join NATO, that's a wrong statement. India can't join NATO. NATO is only for European countries. Very important thing. And two outcasts are there, which is US and Canada. That's it. Otherwise, you cannot have other countries joining NATO. They can be partners of NATO in one capacity or the other, but they can't be members of NATO. So first thing as a part of procedure is you have to be a part of Europe. European countries can join it. Sweden is a part of Europe. Now, after that, the procedure says you need to have some democratic framework. You need to have democracy or democratic framework in which expectation is that institutions of democracy should be there. If they are not, NATO will handhold you so that you make a transition and only then you can enter NATO. Good part is for Sweden, these kinds of things were not needed. Sweden already is a democracy, so not a problem. But these are all requirements. Fine. Now, if you see here, it talks about these things. And if you see here, I'll take you to the map. These two countries have recently joined. Okay. Sweden and Finland. And if you see, they are part of the Nordic area. And this entire area is also very important, has been in the news. Now, if you see, the previous slide is just the basic things you can read by yourself. Procedure to join NATO. Some minimum requirements. Uphold the democracy, tolerating diversity, respecting the sovereignty of other countries, which are generally democratic framework. That's it. You have to fulfill this. Then, once a country applies for NATO membership, they are signed onto a membership action plan. What the member has to do, a membership action plan is made for that, and countries have to basically do certain things which are mentioned in this action plan. The interesting part is that Sweden and Finland, they did not use this procedure because America wanted them to come quickly because of the Russian aggression. So one interesting thing is this action plan has not been followed by both these countries. After you follow the action plan, what happens is now the member countries, they have to agree. This is the beginning of the accession talks, which ends with the signing of accession protocol. Accession protocol is simply every NATO member, they have to sign this accession protocol. That also means that if you want to enter a member into NATO, the requirement is that all countries have to agree. Okay, that's a very important consideration. In case of Sweden, Turkey or Turkey or the erstwhile name Turkey, they were opposed. Even Hungary was opposed. Why were they opposed? We'll see. But they have given the go ahead. That means they have signed the accession protocol. Once you sign the accession protocol, now you have to ratify it in your national legislatures. That means now once the Turkey or the Turkey and Hungary, they have signed the accession protocol, that some basically means the head of the state will sign it. Now it will go to the legislature will ratify it, and only after that a new member will get added. So all these things have happened for Sweden. Fine. Now, implications of Sweden joining NATO. Now, this has happened. So, for the prelims, what we need to know, what is the procedure? For prelims, you need to know what is the location of Sweden. Okay. Although it is written here that Sweden has enough military strength, you don't have to remember all these things. Okay, this is just so as to give you an idea. Now comes the things which are important for mains perspective. That what is the implication of Sweden joining NATO? Will something change or will it remain same? Now, let's try to understand this. Sweden and Finland, two countries, they have adopted neutral policies. They have adopted neutral policies. Finland joined earlier, Sweden has joined recently. But both these two players are the recent addition, the 31st country and the 32nd country. Okay. Since Cold War times, what Sweden and Finland has done is they adopted a very neutral policy, meaning they were not inclined towards Russia, they were not inclined towards West, at least on paper. Practically, they were more inclined towards West because they are a part of European Union. Okay, so but with respect to foreign policy, what they have done is they have tried to maintain a neutrality. And this is a big change which has happened. Both countries have given up neutrality to join the West. Joining NATO means joining the West. Let's try to understand the implications. First implication is that it helps NATO consolidate itself. Now NATO is more stronger. If you see the map, NATO now has reached even closer to Russia. NATO has reached even closer to Russia. See, this border, the one which I'm marking in red, this was never NATO's border. Now it is because Finland is a part. So it is a problem with respect to Russia. That means NATO becomes more stronger. That is why we are using the word. It will help NATO consolidate its position and the defense integration in the Nordic, Baltic, and the Arctic regions. Why? The countries from all these three regions now are a part of NATO. So NATO's strength has considerably increased. Added to that, Sweden has a sophisticated army and defense technology, which may benefit NATO. First implication of Sweden joining NATO. Second implication is Sweden will get protection of Article 5. Last time also we discussed Article 5. Article 5 is war against one is a war against all. Aggression against one is aggression against all. So tomorrow if Russia attacks Sweden, it is considered as an attack on all members of NATO and Sweden will get the help. Now, before I talk about the third point, I'll also talk about, first I'll talk about the fourth point. This is expected to create more instability. along the Russian border. See, one important thing which is there is after 1991, since the Cold War has ended, NATO has continuously moved eastward, which is a concern of Russia. But in 2008 and later on in 2014, Russia said that I will not tolerate this. In 2008, Georgian crisis, 2014, Ukraine crisis, whereby Crimea was annexed by Russia. If you see Georgia and Ukraine, where is Georgia? Where is Ukraine? Let me show you. Okay, we are not able to see Georgia here, but Georgia is to this side. But we can see Ukraine here. So NATO included them. NATO has included them. These players are NATO's players, if you see. Earlier, these were the ones. Later on, NATO started moving east. So now, when they started moving east, the problem was Russia is saying there is a limit to which I will entertain this. Otherwise, I will also retaliate. So when Russia retaliated for Ukraine in 2014 and for Georgia here, Russia was basically saying stop. Now the problem is still they are not stopping. Still there is instability. Still Ukraine-Russia crisis is going on. What we are saying is Sweden and Finland, which were neutral countries, which had a working relationship with Russia, now they have also come towards NATO, and NATO's borders has increased, as a result of which the security calculation of Russia and NATO is going to change. NATO will feel more empowered, Russia will be more insecure. In the insecurity of Russia, Russia may take steps. Unless both agree to talk to each other, this may create more instability in Europe. That Europe, which has seen relative peace during the Cold War, now, since the end of Cold War, has seen multiple events taking place and multiple small conflicts taking place in Europe, with the recent one being the Ukraine one. We are expecting more such conflicts because Europe is becoming one, and unfortunately, when you become a part of NATO, NATO has specifically said that its enemy is Russia. So that's a big problem to me. Okay. In that sense, it will lead to more instability in Europe. Big concern for us. Okay. Now, the last point, which is what is happening in the world, is Biden is saying, give me more money so that I can give to Ukraine. Who is he saying? He's asking the US Congress, please give me more money. We have to give to Ukraine. Congress is not agreeing. Even the Republicans are not agreeing to this. Now, what we are expecting is Biden will go to the US Congress. He will say, look, Sweden has also come. All the Europe has agreed to this. Even Turkey has agreed. Hungary has agreed, which were having problems. Now, please allow us to help Ukraine so that we can ensure they stay together. Otherwise, Europe will feel that we are abandoning them. I have gone to Sweden. I have gone to Finland. Biden is saying, and I have made them come to my side, and by asking them to come join NATO, and now they have joined NATO and the entire Europe has agreed to it. We have to be with Europe, so please give me more money so that I can give to Ukraine. Biden is going to use this to get more money. As of now, he's not able to get more money from the US Congress. Republicans are not very happy and they are saying no need to give more money to Ukraine. Rather, in the presidential campaign which is going on, this is a hotly contested topic, that should we give more money to Ukraine or simply we should end the aid to Ukraine. Okay. Now, Turkey is a part of NATO. Always remember, there's an ambiguity. Geography students will say, sir, Turkey is not a part of Europe, Turkey is a part of Asia. Turkey has this ambiguous position with respect to geography, but Turkey is considered as a part of Europe for the purpose of NATO, and it is a member, rather a very important member, which created problems. Which brings us to the next topic, why Sweden's membership was kept on hold for a long period. It should have been done last year. It was kept on hold. There are two reasons. There are two countries, and you should just know the reasons for this. Sorry. Turkey was the most important entity which blocked the Sweden's membership. It blocked Finland's membership also. The reason was same. Turkey says Sweden and Finland, they give refuge to terrorist actors. Which terrorist actors? Basically the Kurds. Kurds are considered as terrorists by Turkey. Kurds are present in Turkey, they are present in Syria also. Please stay with me. Now, coming back, Kurds are an ethnic community in Turkey, Syria, is the major area where they are. And they are fighting against the Syrian regime, against the Turkey, and they are basically asking for something called Kurdistan. And Turkey considers them as terrorists. But these people, they have taken refuge in these countries like Sweden and Finland on the basis that Turkey like countries persecute them. So Turkey was not happy that you are letting them work from there. So sorry. It's the same concern which we have with Canada. With Canada is letting certain actors which impact India operate from there. Same Turkey had with Sweden and Finland. These operate from two parties called the Kurdistan Workers' Party and the People's Protection Units. They are more prominent in Syria. They are more prominent in Turkey. Don't worry, I'm not crying. It's just the sore throat. I know the topics. It's not like I forget. I forgot. Sorry. You guys are good people, understanding my pain. Vinender is saying no problem. Anish is saying take care. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. We'll take rest after we complete the session. So nice of all of you. Okay, so coming back, these two parties, if you see, Kurdistan Workers' Party and the People's Protection Unit is not per se a party, it's a military faction. Military faction like, for example, Hamas is a political party, but Hamas is a has a military wing also. Same is the People's Protection Unit. They are a military organization or militia. We call them as militia or military groups, associated parties. We use these terms to define them. These two, they operate out of certain areas in which Kurdistan Workers' Party has been certainly targeting Turkey, and People's Protection Units have been targeting Syria, and they both have gotten refuge in Sweden and Finland. So Turkey said that it's a problem to me, and I will now use this as a bargaining chip. You want to enter? I understand. You are insecure that Russia will attack you also. I understand, but I will use this opportunity to my advantage. So Turkey said, I will not allow you to enter till the time you don't take steps against them. First problem. Second was Hungary. Hungary had a problem with Sweden because Sweden has criticized the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban. Now, Viktor Orban is a far right leader. He's a far right leader and he has been primarily criticized because he has taken some authoritarian steps in Hungary. And Sweden has outrightly come and criticized it, and they have allowed their civil society media to also bash Hungary. So Hungary was not happy because of this. Hungary also showed its discontent. Both the issues were taken care of by a number of negotiations which took place, and finally, both have agreed that Sweden can be allowed to enter, and both have signed the accession protocol also now. Okay, now what were the steps taken? This also you should know. Sweden has amended the constitution, changed its laws, significantly expanded its counter-terrorism cooperation, against the PKK and resume armed exports to Turkey. Now, this was also one contention. Sweden was not selling arms to Turkey, which Turkey wanted. So, this is also something which was one of the conditions of Turkey that we'll agree if you allow this. They have allowed this. Then, a very important thing, a new bilateral security compact has been signed at which they will meet annually at the minister level, and there they will try to talk about what kind of counterterrorism operations needs to be there. The most important thing is Sweden has changed its laws, as a result of which they will now persecute these entities. Okay, so Sweden has done all these things. Even Finland did all these things. But Turkey used to say that Finland has done enough. Sweden still has to do more things. So they were saying that Sweden, please do more. Sweden has done, all is fine now. Now, Sweden is also saying that we will support you in joining EU. Now, this is the entire topic in itself, which, if important, we'll cover at some point of time. But Turkey has been trying to enter European Union, and European Union has not allowed Turkey to enter because Turkey's track record with respect to democracy is highly questionable. But Turkey wants to be a part of European Union so as to get the benefits which come with the membership of EU. Sweden is saying, I'll support you in this. Third point, and Turkey wanted F-16 fighter jets from US, which US was not selling it to them because Turkey has taken S-400 defense systems from Russia. So US was angry that why are you taking from Russia? And US rather imposed sanctions on Turkey also, sanctions under the famous act called CATSA. So F-16 fighter jets they were not getting, and as a result of which, what we saw was that uh, Turkey used this Sweden's accession as a bargaining chip with US. So US said, okay, I'll give you, allow Sweden to enter. So Turkey has gotten a lot of things by allowing Sweden to enter. They used the event to their advantage. This was also done only then Turkey agreed. Okay, so all these things were done so as to force Turkey to soften its stand, which you should know. Although I would not say that this is something. This keep this in mind for from the mains perspective. I don't think so. They'll ask this in preliminary examination. But if this issue becomes more important later on, then we can use all these points. So just keep in mind. Okay. Now, very important, very quickly, what is Russia saying? Russia initially has said that they did not have a problem with Finland, so they are not going to retaliate. Why are they talking only about Finland? Because if you see, the borders are with Finland, the border is not with Sweden. So they are saying we did not have a problem with Finland, we will still not have it. And they are saying that Finland's going to NATO does not impact Russia, which means they are trying to downplay it. Whether it is going to impact Russia or not, and what will be Russia's response, as of now, we don't know. The only thing which Russia has done till now is Russia has cut electricity and gas exports to Finland. But they have not gone aggressive against Finland. Obviously, they can't go. They are already fighting a war in Ukraine. But in the long term, things may happen, and we'll have to keep a track on this. As of now, Russia is saying that Finland going to NATO is not a big problem to me. But I don't like the fact that Finland has gone because we have always been nice to Finland. We are giving you electricity and gas, and what you are doing is you are going to NATO, and NATO has a declared enemy, Russia. Always remember, Russia is the declared enemy of NATO. So now you are creating an enemy out of me. Russia is saying everything was fine. Sweden, Finland, you were there. I was here. There was a bridge. There was no problem. I could come through the bridge to you. You can come through the bridge to me. Not a problem. But what you did, you burned the bridge. Now we are enemies. Earlier, sorry, earlier there was no animosity. Now there is animosity. That is why more instability in Europe now. So they have given up on their neutral policy. That is what we did in what that is what we said in the starting. Now, very quickly, countering CATSA. What is the full form of CATSA? CATSA is a very, very important act. CATSA's full form is Countering American adversaries through Sanctions Act. Okay. Countering American adversaries. Who are American adversaries? Three American adversaries: North Korea, Russia, and Iran. We have to counter them by putting sanctions. Okay, this is a very important act. Please remember this. CAATSA. Okay, let's move forward. Now we come to the fourth topic, Raisina dialogue. What's the Raisina dialogue saying? Now, the remaining topics are of relatively lesser importance, so we will not be giving that much time. These three I consider to be the most important topics. That is why in the initial we were doing few things in Raisina and few things in the coming topic we have to understand, but most of the other things are relatively factual in nature. But what is Raisina dialogue? Let's try to understand Raisina dialogue. What is Raisina dialogue? Very, very important dialogue. Raisina dialogue is an annual conference on what? Geopolitics and geoeconomics. This is conducted by Delhi-based think tank called Observer Research Foundation along with Ministry of External Affairs. And the theme for 2024 was Chaturanga, conflict, contest, cooperate, and create. As you can see here, Chaturanga, conflict, contest, cooperate, create. Please remember the theme for prelims examination. What exactly happened? See, at the end of the day, it is nothing but a 3-day conference which takes place on an annual basis in Delhi, hosted by one think tank called Observer Research Foundation along with the Ministry of External Affairs, whereby number of people will come from the entire world and they will do discussions on certain topics. Which topics? Generally those topics which are important from the perspective of geopolitics and geoeconomics. If you see, prime ministers are there, former prime ministers are there, presidents are there, military commanders are there, even academicians, journalists. So government plus non-government. I'll write here. Both the entities are present. Okay, that is basically the Raisina dialogue. Now, what you have to remember is the who conducts it. Second, what is the theme? Third, what are the thematic pillars on which the discussion took place this year. So you don't have to remember this, just have a broad idea that uh, these 6 thematic pillars were covered in the 3 days discussion. They talked about technology frontiers, they talked about how to invest and innovate at the same time, they talked about war and peace, they talked about decolonizing multilateralism, they talked about defending democracy, they talked about post 2030 agenda. Just keep in mind, we don't have to go into the details of all these things. Okay. Okay. Bhimre is saying it's a track 1.5. One of the students is saying it's a track 1.5 initiative. Very good. Track 1.5. See, there are certain ways in which we conduct diplomacy. One diplomacy can be government to government. Only the government officials will meet. This is called as track 1 diplomacy. Okay. Then you have government and non-government will meet with government and non-government. This is called as track 2 diplomacy. Oh, I'm sorry, extremely sorry. This is called as track 1.5 diplomacy. And then you have non-government will meet with non-government. This is called as track 2 diplomacy. So track 1 government, track 2 non-government, and if both are present, track 1.5, middle of them. Okay, so this is a track 1.5 kind of a initiative, Raisina dialogue. Good. Okay, now what are the key takeaways? What has been discussed here? A lot of things are discussed, not at all important for us to know everything, but the basics, the broad things which made the headlines, we'll go through them very quickly. What were the broad things? External Affairs Minister has called India as a bridging power. We'll use this in mains. India as a bridging power. India will play the role of Vishwamitra or friend of the world. Why Vishwamitra? We can talk to US, we can talk to Russia, we can talk to US, we can talk to Iran, we can talk to China, not a problem. We can talk to Taiwan, Philippines, not a problem. So we are one of the few countries in the world which is acting like a bridge in the world. It connects fighting parties. We are the ones who can connect fighting parties. We can talk to Russia, we can talk to Ukraine, we can be the connect. That is why bridging power or the Vishwamitra or the friend of the world. This is what he is saying. Now, one important takeaway has been that in this Raisina dialogue, the Greece Prime Minister, he was invited. Now, this is also an important development which I'll discuss a little later in India-Greece relations. Greece Prime Minister was invited and he was the one who has given a impetus by saying that let's go ahead with IMEC. What is IMEC? Remember IMEC? India, Middle East, Europe corridor. He's saying, despite the war in Israel, despite all the negativities, Greece is ready to go ahead with IMEC. Greece is saying, India, let's work in that direction. Now, if you see in the on your screens, in IMEC, this is a very important port. The Piraeus port of Greece is a very important part because through this you enter into Europe. And that is why India Greece relations are also improving. I told you, India is looking towards Europe, European Free Trade Association agreement with them. Second, India Greece relations improving. All are a part of same idea of India. Fine. Now, let's continue. Let's go back actually. So, he has simply said that let's proceed with this, which shows there is a lot of positivity in Greece so as to go ahead with this. This is very, very important development. Now, there were panel discussions. There were panel discussions. Military and naval strategies were discussed in which grey warfare was something which was discussed. You remember we have already covered grey warfare. Grey warfare was discussed as a prime concern. This is one of the developments. And European ministers, they have urged India to reconsider trade and ties with Russia. Obviously, India is not going to do, but the European ministers reiterated that India, you should consider again not trading with Russia because Russia is at fault. Obviously, India is not going to do it, but you should know that they have urged India and they have invited India for a peace conference in Switzerland, which will be held. So we'll keep track of this, which will be held. They have invited us also. Next, Albania. Now, Albania is a place which is to the north of Greece. Same connect, Europe. Albania, India is going to open a diplomatic mission in the Albanian capital. As a current affair, please remember it. As a part of what we are doing towards Europe, that is the same thing. So we have outreach to Albania also. And where is Albania? Albania is here. I'll show you where is Albania. If you see, this is Greece and Albania is just to the north of Greece. Here you have Albania. So we are opening a diplomatic mission there also. Just remember this part, facts. There is no per se restriction that a particular country can join or a particular country cannot join. Countries from across the world are invited to Raisina. Fine. Okay. Quick question for you. Quick question and then we'll take the discussion forward. Okay, we'll be extending the class by approximately 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. We'll be able to complete in 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll be extending the class by only that much time. Okay, this is a factual question actually, but such kind of a question can be framed. Okay. So the question basically is, this is an international agreement or a setup. On the other hand side, the subject which they discuss. All four statements are correct. The answer is D. But you have to just remember this three conferences. You don't have to go into the details. What you can do is, because Raisina has happened, so we're doing a little bit extra by knowing about the other such conferences which happen across the world, the other major conferences across the world. Okay, just remember these. Raisina is held in India only. Okay. Now, let's come to the next topic, elections in Pakistan. Although Pakistan is never an important topic from prelims perspective, UPSC never asks questions on Pakistan. Sometimes it becomes controversial. In mains also there are limited questions, but we need to understand what has happened recently in Pakistan, which is just a small discussion for us. What has happened in Pakistan recently? What has happened in Pakistan recently is that basically people have reposed a lot of trust in the previous prime minister, which is Imran Khan. Imran Khan has been a favorite of the people, and Imran Khan has been fighting against the military. Military is also called as establishment in Pakistan, or sorry, establishment in the various media channels or various print media. The word establishment stands for military. This conflict is not a new conflict. Every prime minister of Pakistan has always had a conflict with military, because military is the main entity which has power in Pakistan. So, with respect to Imran Khan also, which was basically pushed by military only, but Imran Khan held the trust of the people, and people started liking him to the extent that military now thought that he's going out of hand. So they removed him in 2022. And since then, there is a lot of problems in Pakistan. So when this Imran Khan was removed, and now in 2024 elections have taken place, army never wanted Imran Khan to come back to power, so they disqualified by reaching out to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court disqualified Imran Khan because Imran Khan was accused of certain crimes. So Imran Khan could not contest, but the party of Imran Khan, that was also popular, and now the military never wanted that party also to get enough seats in the legislature. So their party was also denied certain, let's say, privileges, in which one of this was election symbols. Symbols are there during election. They were not given to the party. Why? They never wanted the party to get more seats. See, Pakistan's population is majorly illiterate. If they don't see an election symbol, they will not be able to vote for the right party which they want to. As a result of which, the expectation was that the party of Imran Khan will get lesser seats. And what army wanted was, they wanted either the previous Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to come, or maybe some other puppet ruler. For example, now Shehbaz Sharif has become the Prime Minister. He belongs to the same party as Nawaz Sharif. And this was something which military wanted, because they never want Imran Khan to come back. Now, that is all fine. Where is the twist? The twist is in the fact that military, along with Supreme Court, worked in a direction where they never wanted Imran Khan to get more seats, or their party to get more seats, and not to have, legitimacy in the eyes of people. But people still came out and they voted for the party of Imran Khan. They could not get the majority, but they still came. And when they came, many candidates of that party, they were leading. And suddenly in the evening, there was this news that there is some rigging happening in the election, and counting is not happening properly. So in the evening, what was seen was that the party of Imran Khan was leading, but next day morning when the counting was done, the same candidates who were leading, they all lost. And there were allegations, and still are going, and people in Pakistan are protesting that there was a rigging of elections, that there was problem in counting of votes. And this was done at the behest of military, because they never wanted the party to win. So at the end of the day, what has happened is the party is not able to form the government, and the government is actually formed by the party of Nawaz Sharif, and that is something which military wanted. That has happened also, not a problem. But these elections and the protests which are continuing also, what they have shown to us is that people in Pakistan are fed up of the military or the establishment. And now they are defying it by coming out on the streets. All this gets aggravated because Pakistan's economic situation is extremely poor and they are looking for more and more bailout packages from IMF. Obviously, they'll again go to the IMF for a package. Unfortunately, even US will support it. But all these things or this event which has happened, elections, one thing which has become clear from this is the anger against the establishment or the military is growing, and that can be problematic. For India, it's a good thing in the sense that India would want democracy to be there in Pakistan and civilian government to have some control. But most of the prime ministers in Pakistan, they're puppets in the hands of military. And the recent one, Shehbaz Sharif, is also considered to be one such because he has been brought to power with the help of military only. So, for us, these events, what has happened, and the take away from this is more important to us than the specifics. Okay. So, you don't have to go into the details of who won, how many seats. No, UPSC never goes into these kinds of details. But remember this so that we can use this in mains examination, maybe at a later stage. Okay. Now, let's take the discussion forward. We are reaching India and Greece relations. Now, a question which should come to your mind is that are India and Greece relations so important that a question can be asked? In my honest opinion, India and Greece question in mains is something which is not expected. Why? It's a relatively smaller country and we don't have enough relations with them also. But because the Indian Prime Minister visited Greece last year in 2023, and now the Greece president was invited as the chief guest in the Raisina dialogue in 2024. So, this gives us basically a topic to discuss a little bit. I would say there are a few things from the perspective of PT which you have to keep in mind. From mains, I don't expect a separate question on India and Greece. Nevertheless, let's see what is there. Okay, this article from 17th Feb which says the Greek PM Mitsotakis, he's to come to India on a 2-day state visit from February 21. Okay, now if you see, uh, it would be the first visit to India by the head of state of Greece after a gap of 14 years. And when it comes to India's leader going to Greece, last leader to go to Greece was Indira Gandhi. Now Modi ji has gone. Similarly, after 15 years, somebody from Greece is also coming. So why all these things are happening at this stage? I told you the main reason is the connectivity to Europe. And it happens via Greece, so we are trying to improve relations with Greece. That is basically the essence. Now, in this part, what has been done, what you need to take care of is one, the location of Greece. If you see, Greece opens up to the Mediterranean, and you have to take care of this. The location of the Greece to the north of Greece is Albania, Macedonia. Okay, to the east of Greece is Turkey. So, geography we have to take care of. Fine. And Greece is also concerned with what is going on in this area of Red Sea. Why? Because this traffic has got interrupted. So both are saying we need to take care of the sea lines of communication. This is something which is a concern for both of them. Let me change the color of the pen. Sea lines of communication. This is something which is a concern for both of them. Both are saying we'll work in this direction. Now, this we have already done. I assume that all of you will go through it and remember this because it is important from the PT perspective. This route starts from Mumbai, goes to UAE, then via Saudi Arabia, passing via Israel, through the Mediterranean, we are reaching the Piraeus port of Greece. Remember the name Piraeus, okay, for prelims. Now, when Modi went to Greece, or the president has come now, they have been discussing on certain topics, which has become the areas of cooperation in which defense and security cooperation has been something which the Prime Minister has talked about. The second is connectivity, which we have already discussed. The Greek Prime Minister, he said that India is a gateway to Asia and Greece is a gateway to Europe. These are the statements by the head of the state of Greece. Connectivity is at the heart. We would want some defense cooperation, as a result of which NSA level talks are institutionalized. They are being started. Third area of cooperation is mobility, whereby we would want more Indians to go there for tourism, for education, and for business. So there is a migration and mobility pact which is being discussed between both. Already we have a relationship with Greece, but that relationship is not substantial. The trade relation is limited. The cultural connect exists since the time of Alexander. So that is the place where this connect with Greece starts. You might have studied about Hellenistic art in your ancient history. The Hellenistic art is the art from the Greece. So that the schools of art in India, they're heavily influenced by the Hellenistic art. We have connect in tourism, we have connect in business. Indian businessmen, they work out of Greece and they're very happy because of the ease of doing business in Greece. So Greece is saying we would work on these lines and we would take the relationship forward. India is also looking for that. Both are saying that we will become, sorry, strategic partners. That is something which both are discussing. Okay. NSA stands for National Security Advisor. So NSA level talks means highest level talks. NSA is given the status of a cabinet minister also. So NSA is one of the highest bureaucrats, one of the highest is the cabinet secretary. But NSA is a very important bureaucrat. He is given the status of a cabinet minister, and whenever there are NSA level talks between countries, that means something is happening in this domain, security, because that is one of the highest levels of talks. One of the highest level of talks can be either defense minister or it can be NSA level talks. Okay, we have NSA level talks with now Greece. We will be having, sorry. So these kinds of things. And with respect to security, both have talked about the sea lines of communication, which I have discussed with you already. Okay. In addition to this, they are saying that when it comes to business, there is a lot of scope with respect to trade. Number of things can be sold to Greece. Number of things, Greece has limited things to offer. Good part is Greece has some aspects of defense to offer. But otherwise, Greece is not one of the major producers of things. However, the good part for us is that this Greece has been heavily dependent on China. And now Greece, just like other parts of Europe, wants to reduce this dependency. So they are looking for partners. And India comes and tries to fill the gap. So that is the broader framework of the India-Greece relations. We don't have per se any problems because we have only limited connect. We don't know whether this relationship will actually emerge as an important relation in the future, but definitely from this perspective, I will want to improve the relation. And that is what is happening actually in the last 1 year also. This is something which you have to take in consideration and remember. Okay, let's move forward. Now we come to, okay, we are done actually. Last two topics are primarily factual things which you take care by yourself. Obviously, I'll explain, don't worry. But Sela Tunnel and certain military exercises. These kinds of questions, they are not questions for mains examination. These are questions for preliminary examination, and largely they are factual in nature. There is no analysis associated with them. These are factual questions. What is this Sela tunnel? Okay. First of all, at the end of the day, it's a tunnel only. There are two tunnels and one connecting road, which is built so that we can reach this area called Tawang. Tawang is the area which borders China. We want to reach Tawang from which areas? From other areas of Arunachal and even from Assam. There's a particular place called Tejpur. Let me write it here. Okay. So we want connectivity towards border areas. Connectivity towards the entire India-China border is a very important consideration, and Indian government since the last 10 years they have been rapidly building infrastructure across the entire stretch of India-China border. We are talking about that stretch which exists towards the east, which is the stretch which is with either Sikkim or with Arunachal. There, while we are trying to improve infrastructure and connectivity towards the border areas, one of the most important areas is Tawang. But the problem is the altitude of Tawang, as a result of which we are unable to reach there. And there is the path that gets stuck because of snow and because of this high altitude that we are unable to reach there. And we say there is no all weather connectivity. All weather connectivity means whether it is sun, whether it is summer, winter, spring, autumn, whatever be the case, we should be able to get there. If we are able to get there, we'll call it all weather connectivity. If you see here, it says all weather link. With this tunnel and the road connectivity which we have built, now we will be able to reach Tawang 12 months in a year, sorry, 12 months in a particular year, and across the year we will have this connectivity with them. We don't have to worry that okay, there is snow. That is the essence basically of this Sela tunnel. Now the government has given some reasons. Let me first discuss this. Three benefits which are going to come. The government has said all weather connectivity to Tawang and forward areas. Forward areas means those areas which are near to the border. Reduction in more than 1 hour of travel time from Tejpur to Tawang area in Assam. Avoidance of dangerous snow covered Sela top at the height of 13,700 feet. This is something which is important to us. Now, Border Roads Organization. From the prelims perspective, you have to remember that the project is executed by the Border Roads Organization. It consists of two tunnels and one link road, which basically means there is a tunnel like this, and then there is a road, and then again you have a tunnel like this. So this is the link road, and these are the two tunnels. Okay. Where it is located? In the West Kameng district of Arunachal Pradesh. This is also something which you have to remember. The location, who is executing the project, what is the project all about, and the benefits of the project. Okay, that is it. The question is primarily with respect to that I want to have better capabilities to handle China at border areas. We are doing a lot of things on the other side of the border also. In Ladakh also we are building infrastructure. Arunachal also we are building infrastructure. Okay, so Sela tunnel is a part of that. Just remember these few basic things about the Sela tunnel. Fine. Okay, this is not even a question which should be asked, but still we will discuss. I will give you some time to answer this. Very easy, obviously, but something like this. Don't get confused. Punjab is absolutely incorrect option. Why should Punjab be there? Punjab is not even a part of the border. Why has people said Assam? Why are you, please take care of this thing. Assam, incorrect. It is in Arunachal. Okay, it is connecting area of Assam to Arunachal, but it is in Arunachal. Okay. Okay, Vikram is asking before we move forward, what is sea lines of communication? What are sea lines of communication? See, when the ships pass through different areas in the sea, they follow a path, a certain path. For example, a ship which is traveling, let's say, carrying something from, let's say there is a ship and that ship is carrying something. What is the ship carrying? Oil. The ship starts from here and then the ship comes to India, or the ship can go from this area and reach to China. This particular path which the ship is taking is nothing but sea lines of communication, which simply means those lines of communication which are being used by the ships in transporting cargo. First meaning. Second, there are underground cables which ensure internet connectivity. They also have to be protected. The underground sea cables, okay, through which this interaction is taking place. Fine. So, this is sea lines of communication. We want that something which is coming from here should be very easily able to pass here. But what is happening? Some rebels in some rebels in Yemen. Which rebels? The Houthi rebels. As of today, what they are doing, they are not allowing the ships to pass via Red Sea. So we'll say the sea lines of communication are not safe. This is the word which you'll use. Sea lines of communication are not safe. Okay, fine. I hope you get the idea. Now the last is three military exercises which you have to remember from the prelims perspective. So sorry, there is a typo here. It's not samurai, it's Samudra Lakshman. We'll talk about this. Okay, there is a certain typo here. First is the exercise called Dharma Guardian. Dharma Guardian is an exercise which is done between Indian Army and the Japanese Self-Defense Force. Annually it is held. It is conducted either in India or Japan. Usually, alternatively, we conduct this exercise. It's a part of the joint drills which keep on happening. Okay, so Dharma Guardian we have to remember. It is between India and Japan. We have to remember, and this year it took place in Rajasthan. This also we have to remember. Fine. Next is the exercise called Sea Defenders. This exercise is a maritime security exercise between Indian Coast Guard and the United States Coast Guard. So the previous one was a exercise by Army. This one is an exercise by Navy. Okay, I beg your pardon. This is an exercise by Coast Guard, not Navy. So remember this also. Okay. Coast Guard and Navy. Navy will come under the control of Ministry of Defense. Coast Guard comes under the control of Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay? Okay. Never mind. Remember this. Then we have the Samudra Lakshman maritime exercise conducted between India and Malaysia. Recently it was conducted. No need to remember the dates. But yes, you have to remember where it took place. It took place in Vishakhapatnam. Okay. So which country and where it took place is what you have to remember. You can read what vessels were involved, but I would not say that you spend a lot of energy in remembering the vessels which were a part of the exercise. For example, Indian Navy ship Kiltan and the Royal Malaysian Navy ship KD Lakir that were participating in the exercise. If you can remember, well and good. Not also, then it's also fine. Just remember it was an exercise between India and Malaysia, took place in Vishakhapatnam. Okay, I hope this part is clear to you. Having said this, we come to the end of the session. And I hope the session was fruitful for you. We'll try to ensure that the session ends on time next time. So I will not take too much time in the initial topics, but usually I would want to give you a better idea of things which I feel are more analytical in orientation. Factual things will be covered. It's not that it will not be covered, but I expect that some things you will be able to do from the annotated PPT also. If this works for you, let me know. If this does not work for you, then also let me know, because this is largely how I have conceived the class. Having said this, uh, I hope the session was fruitful. I hope it added some value to your preparation. And let's work more hard. Let's put in more time. And let's meet again next month with new topics. And at your end, please keep revising. Please follow the entire PPT, the annotations, and wear a smile always and do the hard work, and always have this feeling that the one who will rise is the one who will shine, but the one who will rise and shine is the one who is ready to go through all the struggles and all the hell. So bring on the hell. Let's do the hustle. Let's put in the work. Let's ensure that we remain committed, and let's try to have some fun while we do it. International relations is so much fun. We will do all the politics also, but that is only for the fun part. Remember the academic part, differentiate it from the political part, but be an informed person, be an informed citizen, and have a lot of fun while you study. Having said this, thank you so much, everyone. A very good night to all of you, and we'll meet next month.